But okay, officially welcome everyone to COMM333. Okay, I'm Kevin, and this is my first time taking this subject. Okay, so this subject is originally developed together with COMM331, and this is more of a research-focused subject and for the Dean Scholars. The subject coordinator who normally teach this subject is Dr. Stephanie Perkins. She's currently on leave, so I'm being one of her friends. Okay, I feel fortunate, very fortunate to be able to take this subject and meet all of you this session. The reason I'm very interested in this subject, two main reasons. Number one, one of my specialty area in teaching is sustainability reporting. So in my PhD study, I studied how banks in Australia and other countries report their corporate social responsibility and sustainable management indicators of performance in various forms report. So I always have a strong interest in understanding and researching in corporate social responsibility, sustainability, and sustainable goals. So which are some of the key areas that we concern in this subject. And hi, Jiachen. And another motivation that I strongly ask the school to give this subject to me is I always feel great and motivated to work with you guys, the Dean Scholars, the high achieving student. Some of you might know I monitor another student leadership group called Cable, which has been operating in the Faculty of Business for more than 10 years now. And by looking at your names, I recognize some of you are actually part of the Cable program. But being able to work with exceptional students like you guys really motivates me. And myself, I was a Dean Scholar. I was a past leader, and I was the winner of the Chancellor Memorial Prize in 2011. And so I hope we can work together, okay, and motivate each other to achieve higher goals, okay? And so another lecture, which is Nadia, will be doing some of the co-teaching with me. We're gonna do the lectures sort of being half-half arrangement, but I will be taking all the tutorial and especially the second part when the research component being instructed, and more details will be provided to you in the upcoming weeks, right? So please feel free to bring any relevant discussions into tutorial in student forum. And I'm generally reachable. I cannot say 24 hours, 7 days, but I generally stay up very late and get up early. So if you got anything you would like me to clarify, please do not hesitate to send emails to me. I'll get back to you as quick as I can, and use the student forum as well. So I will try to keep that closely monitored. So so hopefully you have already taught through the Moodle site. It's still kind of improving as we go. The subject outline is already there for a while, but there is a small typo in the subject outline, which I would like to clarify, which is assessment 2 tutorial preparation. So in here, the small mistake is 2 each worth 5%, but in fact, that's actually for submission, each worth 2.5%, okay? So that is the typo that you need to pay attention. So 4 submissions are required in week 3 and 6 respectively. All right. So while we're on the subject outline, have you all had a chance to go over the subject outline?
Yes.
So does anyone have any questions or anything, any part which is confusing? So more details regarding assessment 1 and assessment 3, because they are working a lot more months, will be progressively available in Moodle. The research report, which is a major assessment, is in the place for final exam. So therefore, the technical fail rule does apply to this assessment, but I don't think that will be something you should consider relevant. You guys are exceptional students, but I'm just saying this is procedurally that is a requirement. And by the time when this submission section is open, you will see the report actually include 3 parts, okay? So being the report itself, the presentation, and a peer evaluation. So by the time the submission will be set up for all the different parts of the assessment, and we plan to run live presentation in the last week's tutorial. All right, so we'll watch your presentation and mark your presentation during the live tutorial, and but then we'll give you marks based on your submission. So the marking rubric will be attached to the actual submission of the presentation, but there will be a group assessment. Okay. All right. So that is the subject outline, and other things in the Moodle site include the student forum. Please feel free to share your thought regarding the subject or anything you find interesting. Feel free to post here. I might randomly post something I recently read and consider interesting. Okay, here. Yes, there are links. Some. So Yazid, are you talking about the? Okay, yeah. So let me just address some of these questions. Okay. So now regarding weekly lecture recording, okay. So there will be no official lecture recording in week 1 to 6. Okay. Then once the research component starts, so we are moving on to the 2-hour tutorial, some of the recording will be available. However, both me and Nadia have planned to record some short videos just to bring some updated information regarding how weekly content are related to some of the current environment. For example, COVID-19, the recent development in sustainable goals, or the world economy, things like that. So there will be no official lecture recording, okay? So the expectation is you will go over the materials in the weekly section, okay? Yeah. And I want to thank a student who sent me an email reminding me there are some broken links in the Moodle book. Unfortunately, the whole thing is, once we developed, we rolled over from the previous year. So I will not delay these links, okay, because they might become available later once they depend on whether YouTube changed their user agreements or not. So Stephanie suggested that I do not remove them because they might need to roll it again in next session. So what I will do is maybe in student forum, provide some new relevant lecture recordings so you can watch that. And also, if you find something interesting, just share it in the student forum. I would like to see a lot of the content actually included in the current Moodle book has been developed for a while, okay? The theory, the concepts are relevant, are still relevant. However, in the new economy, in the recent event and the current issues, you might need to take a different perspective, like a newer take to analyze, to interpret it, or to discuss it, all right? So I had a meeting with Nadia earlier this week. So on some of the weeks that is in my specialized area, for example, next week for week 2 system thinking, we might do a very short recording, talk about the recent development of things like that. See, like for today, later in this tutorial, I will show you something which I uploaded in the a separate topic called 2021 weekly update. Not necessarily being a lecture update, it can be a lecture or tutorial update. Some of the things, the 2 new lectures for this subject being me and Nadia. So what we provided to you guys just to give you a little bit of an update on these contracts, right? So, all right, so let's have a look at this, right? So this subject is research focused. So 2 of your major assessment, an individual asset and a group business report, both require you to conduct research, okay? The first individual asset require you to relate a news article, which I just uploaded in the Moodle site, probably 10-20 minutes ago. Okay, you can start having a look of this already, but feel free to discuss it or ask any questions during tutorial or in consultation or in student forum. Okay?
Excuse me, Kevin.
Yes.
So is that a new news article? Because there were 4 news articles already on Moodle. Are you
Oh,
replacing them with different
yes.
ones?
So there are 4 articles for the weekly submission. Okay, so let me just go back to the Moodle site. So in the tutorial section, okay, so you can see, so this folder had 4 articles, each for week 3 to 6. That's for the tutorial preparation. So you are required to write 2, no more than 3 paragraphs, and then relate that to what we have covered in this subject, and probably in some of the other subjects that you studied, right? And in the assessment 1 section, which is a little bit lower, I just added 2 new articles, okay, A and B. So you choose one of these to write your main essay. Yeah. The tutorial workbook is for you to track your study. So we don't need you to submit this in any sort of However, that is what we try to indicate, what kind of knowledge you should develop after studying the weekly content. So if you can confidently answer this question or provide some reasonable discussion with supportive evidence, that is, to me, very good learning outcome. okay? But we don't need you to submit this anywhere. This is not part of assessment. Is that okay, Holly?
Yeah, sorry, Kevin, can I ask a question?
Of course, of course.
I want to ask, like in the assessment tool, like tutorial preparation, do we need to have like a reference list at the end of it?
Look, it will be helpful, but you don't really. So I don't mandatorily enforce you to reference anything. So, but if you reference to anything, just include that. That would be helpful. But you will not be penalized for anything related to referencing.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, however, both the individual essay and the group report, you must follow the referencing policy, because later when you see the criteria, the referencing is part of the marking criteria. Okay. But for weekly, so the weekly preparation can be highly personal. So you can write in first person, just being honest with what you think, and yeah, okay. And we don't need you to, include any reference unless you think it's very necessary to do so. And yeah, just include a short reference list in the end. Okay. Yeah. So all the readings that included in the Moodle book should be available through this link. So most of them are papers. Okay. So and news articles. And if you have difficulties accessing any of these, please let me know. And so later on, I'm talking about week 6 onwards, I do plan to provide you guys with more material, especially on research skills, to assist you with the preparation for the final assessment. Okay, so some of these will be updated, and new contents will be provided, and it will be uploaded progressively. Okay. All right, so let's go back to the what we're talking about. So this subject is concerned with how organizations operate, and we hope to understand its broad impact in a globalized environment. So when we talk about how organizations' activity generate a lot of impact, it's not just economic impact. So, and you guys are coming from a multidisciplinary group of Dean scholars. So in your study, right, regardless whether you studied accounting or finance or management or marketing, we look at the impact, we look at the organization's performance from different perspectives, okay? You might have some discipline or some certain perspective focus more on the measuring the economic outcome, such as profit, such as a revenue, such as return on investment. But then you also have other perspectives discussing the impact caused by organizations on the environment, on the community, on ethics, on politics, or in society in general. So we want you guys to develop a systematic and a critical thinking paradigm that you can look at a very complicated business issue from multiple lenses and provide recommendations, a detailed analysis, which are supported by both quantitative and qualitative data. By developing your means, by collecting data, organizing data into meaningful presentations and evidences. But some of the theory and concepts that we often talk about in this subject will echo things you studied in COMM 101 and in other disciplines. So I'm more familiar with accounting, finance, and management majors because I did some of the study myself. However, if you find there are certain theory or concept in your major are highly relevant to the current issue, please improve our study by bring that to the table, right? Provide new perspectives and new understanding. So so we talked about the subject online in general, and just please stay updated with Moodle. At the moment, I'm teaching 2 subjects and then in the preparation for another subject. So I do apologize if sometimes I delay, updating certain section. I try to get all things sorted as quick as I can, but please send me emails, call me, use every means to remind me that, by giving you any help that you need, okay? And expectations, you guys are exceptional students. I don't want to, waste the time based on the basics, right? But I'm generally a funny and funny person, and I hope you can feel motivated and engaged and happy to contribute in the class discussion and engagement. And just we don't need to be serious, okay? We take the study serious, but the in the online class we can be totally relaxed. And I'm a funny and I'm a funny person, okay? And I sometimes I might bring some jokes or whatever. And so if you want to have a random chat regarding things that we talk about in this subject or in your study in general or even in everyday life, I totally don't mind, right? And I understand how COVID-19 is affecting everyone. I mean, being very honest, physically and mentally, and I deeply appreciate your guys' commitment to pursue your study and doing well, being a high achiever in this very difficult moment. And I hope you can feel that we are in this together. And I often try to encourage students, like in some of the subject I'm teaching, like a point I'm trying to make it is, we all know how difficult the future employment gonna look like, right? The job market is heavily impacted by COVID-19. However, I still hear successful stories that exceptional students get accepted into good programs or good organizations once they complete study. Yesterday, I had a student. I think she's from Vietnam. She was a dean scholar, and she was a student leader in a number of programs. And I wrote a reference letter for her a few months ago, and yesterday she sent me an email indicating she just got a job in a marketing organization, which is fantastic. So what I'm trying to say is, the environment is intense, is challenging, right? And it's turbulent, but that should give us, including me, a better motivation to achieve higher, right? To develop our skills, right? To stay connected with what's happening in real world, and that prepare us better for the future employment market. And you guys are already in a good start, being a dean scholar, being a high achiever, and I hope you can keep the momentum ongoing until you reach your personal potential, right? So I do hope you can read relevant materials and be critical about it. I'm saying, and hopefully you can relate what we talk about in this subject to what is happening in real life. Yeah. So Daniel just asked a very relevant question. So it asks you to identify serious learning in lecture material, but there's no lecture. So the lecture is what is in the Moodle book. So there is no official lecture recording to just go over all of that again with you, okay? But like I said earlier, we do plan to bring a little bit more up-to-date discussion on that. You will see that coming progressively, okay? And also, I'm very open. I don't need you to take things literally regarding use a theory that learned in the lecture in this subject, okay? You guys have coming from different backgrounds, studying different subject. If you use a relevant theory that you picked up from your other subject, I'm totally okay, as long as that can be related to the major theme of this subject. Remember, this is a business capstone which focus on corporate social responsibility, sustainable development, things like that. So if you say, okay, I want to draw a reference from a particular theoretical point, maybe I'm not sure whether Kevin or Nadia know what I'm talking about. I think just adding a quick reference can be really helpful. We have no problem to have a look of that, and as long as that's relevant and supported by evidence, that's good piece of work. Yeah. Is that cool, Daniel? Yeah. Look, this subject includes a lot of theories, and I can even tell you that even the theory that's being outlined or listed in some of the Moodle content is far from being exhaustive. There are a lot more alternative theoretical frameworks that that are available, right? So for example, system thinking, there are different versions of system thinking: soft system, hard system, system dynamics, ecosystem thinking. I mean, the list can go endless, all right? So as long as you are using a relevant or multiple theoretical framework, and the response are reasonable, well developed, that's good. Okay. Well, even being a someone working academia for a number of years, and we learn new theory, we hear about new things that are currently being developed in the literature in a daily basis. Okay. All right. Now, so what do we mean by we hope you can take a multidisciplinary approach in this subject to understand business? Okay. Depends on what. So depend on your choice of major area study. So each major might focus in a different element of business, right? However, by thinking from a different perspective, different kind of explanations or interpretations can be provided on the same social phenomena. Okay. Yeah. And there is no word limit to paragraph, but what I want to say is you don't need to go beyond. You don't really don't need to go beyond 300 words. Okay. If you think you are in the mood to provide a longer submission, you will not be penalized for that. We don't penalize you for being reflective. However, we hope your communication can be concise and cut to the point directly.
Hello.
Yes, Daniel.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, where can I find this Moodle book?
So
the e-book?
No, it's basically all of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I have to like go through.
Yeah. See, can you see? It just goes on and on.
Okay, so I just go through all of them for like I don't know, for
So-
each week or something.
Yes. So you consider this part is the traditional lecture slide, but it's just separate in different sections. It
I
might,
see.
yeah. So it might contain some of the videos, like almost like you're part of your lecture recording. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Look, if anyone haven't watched any of that, it's not too late. Okay, it's not too late. You haven't really missed anything. So let's assume we start the formal learning today. Okay, in week 2. All right. So but so try and then like on the weekly basis. So some week that will be me, some week will be Nadia. We're gonna do very short recording just to maybe a little bit overview, maybe a little bit summary, like what I'm doing today. Okay. All right. Now, can I give you guys a couple of minutes and each of you just think about this question, okay? Maybe from your major disciplinary area, okay? So you all heard about corporate social responsibility, and I hope you also heard about corporate social responsibility reports, right? So this is a report many organizations issue in addition to its annual report. Some organizations issue CS report as a standalone document. Okay, so it's just CSR report. And some organizations actually combine its annual report together with CS report. So both the report will be issued at the same time, can be integrated in some of the country. It's even called the integrated report. There are also some other businesses or in certain countries, it's called sustainability report. It's called stakeholder impact report. It also been called different names, okay? But in general, this is different than the annual report, which generally covers the company's major financial performances in the financial statement and other information such as the board of directors, corporate governance, and things like that. But now think about in 1 or 2 minutes, and feel free to type or talk. For you, what might be some of the reasons that now many business firms issue a CSR report? Why we see more of that happening? I provided an example in Moodle, which is the most recent CSR report from COMM333. Okay, we might have a look of that just briefly later on. But for now, can you think about this question? Or maybe in your disciplinary area, in the disciplinary area that you are most familiar with, what might be some of the reasons?
I really think that it's important to be transparent, and I think customers are also putting a higher sort of value on that. So if a business isn't producing a CSR report, lots of customers will turn away straight away. They're putting a higher value on it. So they're looking for transparency. They're looking for the business to be sort of more personable and more like have a voice and be a little bit like easier to have a relationship with. And I think that's way more important. So if businesses aren't hitting the mark anymore, they're going to start losing customers very quickly.
Yep. I think, Terry, you already talked about a number of things that can be related to CS report, including stakeholder engagement, relationship, including the consumer's demand, right? And Andrea says both consumers and other business also value companies that display the concern for environment, right? And Holly says it also demonstrates the business can have a positive impact on society. Do you think this actually goes against a common perception that many times business only do bad things to society? Have you seen this kind of sort of perception before in media, in news articles, or in textbook?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, in the Asian Chinese culture, there used to be an old slogan saying, "All businessmen are accountants." How they generate profit? By cheating other people. There used to be a this perception that business person are not genuine, they are dishonest, right? And you see that in Shakespeare's writing, you see that in a lot of culture, right? And Holly talks about this also allows consumers to consume product services and they are doing good for society. But can I ask you guys a question, personal question? How CSR concerned are you being a consumer? When you try to buy something, do you look up this company and understand its CSR first, or you just do a little bit of price search and that's good enough for you?
I think that like if like it was me, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the CSR first. I would care more about the quality of their products and stuff. But like after which, like if I get to know about the CSR report and their effect on the environment or like the transparency of their activities, I think that could be like a good way to compare like many companies with like the same kind of products, I think.
Yeah. It's almost like if we want to buy a car, I mean, we would assume the hybrid car is more environmentally friendly compared to the petrol car. Am I right? But how many of you actually own a hybrid car or is currently driving a hybrid car? And assuming hybrid car will be more expensive in general. Yep. And Jiachen said, corporations strive to be regarded as responsible to living our social expectations, right? And that is actually explained in a theory called legitimacy theory. So if an organization is being viewed as not meeting social expectations, very likely they will go downwards, right, in business, right? We have seen so many corporate collapse, so many corporate misdeeds, things is still currently happening, okay? The articles I included for you for weekly discussion and for the major assessment actually look at the recently happened corporate misdeeds and ongoing debates on many issues: child labor, poor working environment, bank scandal, what's the name? Money laundering, environment, carbon footprint is still ongoing. But just by looking at some of the responses you guys provided, can you guys feel that you might have a huge variety of different kind of prospective responses? And Holly just added, it really depends on how much coverage the media has over companies, right? And that is actually relates to a very common theory. I don't know whether it's addressed in the Moodle book. I haven't looked at that in detail, but it's called media agenda setting theory. It actually suggests a lot of time what company does is providing a response to the current media agenda. It's not necessarily doing anything in good in general. Yeah. So it's just an example of how different theories or how different perspectives can be brought in this discussion, but well done. So that's the thing that number one, make this subject very interesting. Second, make this topic highly debatable, controversial, and you can just have unlimited possibilities, alternatives. So some of the things I included in the slide. So from accounting perspective, right? Sometimes we talk about, can we actually measure, report, and provide assurance for non-financial performance? Companies can provide a CSR report, right? In CSR report, they talk about what they have done to the society, what they have done to the environment. But if we are an accountant, can we go and measure, report, and audit this, right? If not, that indicates the current profession has certain limitations that we need to meet in future, right? In finance, there you might heard about stories such as microfinancing, green financing, socially or environmentally responsible financing, right? In China, there is a very important policy called the green credit, right? That is equivalent to, in worldwide, something called the Equator's principle, indicating banks or financial institutions should not lend money to projects that negatively impact the society or environment. But who's there to support these kind of policies? Because this is not a mandatory standard. What is the meaning behind this? Is that really generating positive impact to the society? Or alternatively, if you think for certain economies, including a lot of the developing countries, is currently paying a price or a trade-off between, on one hand, you have economic development, on the other hand, you have environmental damage. But how do you balance the positive growth in economy, the improve of the living standard versus the degradation of environment quality? So these other things are what the different disciplines might concern. From the management perspective, can we use CSR or sustainability as effective business strategy? Can we have a more sustainable or greener supply chain or value chain? Sorry, Emily just being naughty. Then, if we really want to embed corporate social responsibility in our daily management, what are the big or the small things that we can do? Okay, so when I was doing my research, Westpac always tried to label itself being a very sustainable and ethical bank. Yeah. So, and what they have done is they say we try to implement CSR in every little bit of our management, including the coffee that we provided in staff canteen. We want to make sure that the coffee that we ordered are green, are organic, are coming from the fair trading suppliers. Okay, so that's something. From the economics perspective, we look at, can we overcome the issues such as the limit to growth, the depletion of non-renewable resources. You have the more optimistic economics looking at the how different kind of capitals or resources might replacing each other. But some of them saying, if we just let certain resources to run out, is that real sustainability? And that leads to the weaker version or the stronger version of the definition for sustainability, right? I think some of you actually study marketing. Do you think CSR can be actually used as a promotion tool, a marketing strategy to improve the company's reputation or brand equity or brand image, right? We talked about how some of the consumers actually being CSR concerned, right? With when they try to buy something. But does that apply to the general consumer market, right? How many consumers are just simply price sensitive, and then how many consumers actually being more actually are developing awareness regarding other sort of impacts, right? From the international business perspective, we can look at how CSR being defined and interpreted in different cultures. If you are a multinational enterprise and you want to fulfill corporate social responsibility, and in different countries, can you apply the same standard in terms of working environment, minimum wages, other things, pollution, right? So if a production or manufacturing business shifted its manufacturing from a country with very strict environmental protection policy to a country with no environment protection, is that being responsible or being irresponsible? Is this a pursuit for sustainable goals, or actually, I mean, negatively impact sustainable goals, right? So that is why we need to look at that from multiple perspectives in a very thematic manner. And this actually said, issuing CSR report is a company how to manage their waste. It might be a little bit more than that. For example, you can have a look, quotes the CSR report. They actually talk about a lot of things. You might find a lot of things really interesting, really, if you don't read it, you might not realize, oh, actually, this is actually classified as corporate social responsibility in an organization. Yes, so Desek also talked about the negative impact if a company has been perceived as not compliant to certain standard or things like that. Social expectation, or it can also be called a legitimacy gap, right? That might lead to boycotting, that might lead to legal consequences, things like that. And you can see that actually touches both the ethics and the law, depending on whether it's landed in one area or actually in the overlapping area. So hopefully this is an example that you can see why we emphasize the multidisciplinary, or later I might use another description called multi-methodological way to look at a certain thing. Okay. So other things, before we finish, COVID-19 affected everything. What some of the changes COVID-19 has relates to corporate social responsibility? That's just some of the examples, all right? On some of the things you might see some more interesting things. Okay? So there has been a fair bit of research suggested company fulfilling their CSR will likely to survive during a crisis. Okay? So in other words, crisis actually should motivate business to fulfill more CSR, even coming from a self-interest perspective. And remember in COMM 101, right? Self-interest is not necessarily a bad word. It can be ethical, right? From the egoism theory, all right? And one of the conclusions they make is, in long run, stakeholder trust is better than what the government or other things they can, or organization or banks can give you. Okay, for organizations survive crises such as COVID or maybe GFC before, they need to build on stakeholder trust. Right? GFC affected many organizations, especially the financial institutions. And that's probably why after GFC, you have seen a lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions have spent a lot of effort trying to build confidence in the market, both from the investors and other general stakeholders. They used many different strategies, including marketing, public relationship management, information system, social media, right? And this kind of thing, okay? And let's hold that hypothesis being true at the moment, because some of the research papers think we have some empirical evidence to suggest that. And another key finding is a lot of business, how do they try to fulfill more CSR during COVID-19? It's not only by providing their original service, if it's especially if it's essential. If you read the COMM333 CSR report, which are attached in the Moodle, you find they use the word essential many times. They keep indicating, promoting the idea that cost is, of course, an essential service, and they spend hundreds of thousands of words to emphasize what a good job they have done to provide these necessary essential services. Some of you might think, okay, that's just impression management. That's true according to certain theory. But some of you say, okay, maybe the business have also done some real substantial things to make that happen. And that is also good, right? Depends on how you view this action. Remember in COMM 101, some of the theory focus more on the consequence, okay? You want to make profit, you did something, and whatever you have done has created value for the society. There's nothing wrong with that. That can be regarded as an ethical business action. That's totally fine, right? So some of the interesting examples we have seen, alcohol makers are producing hand sanitizers because both require alcohol, right? And we had sports equipment manufacturers are producing, protective gears. Hotels being used as quarantine centers. The automotive companies are also producing urgently needed medical devices and other things. Okay, some of the I have a friend who's currently working in one of the Chinese big car automotive companies, and during COVID-19, that company has quickly changed some of these production lines to produce high quality face masks. Okay, is that for profit or is that for corporate social responsibility? That is a question need us, right, to think about it from number of perspectives and provide a debate, and you probably will never be able to draw a concrete conclusion, because regardless what perspective you take, you can reach a reasonable discussion. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much all the talkings I will do, and that's about time as well. So does anyone have any questions? Okay, so next week we'll go back to the two tutorial setup. So we will have one in 9:30 and one in 11:30, and then I will try to allocate the group earlier, so you can know who's gonna be your group member early enough and build a regular contact with them. Okay, so unfortunately we will not allow you to make your own group, because the purpose of this major business report is we will try to put you guys with students from different disciplines. Okay, so I will look at your enrollment and I will try to make your group as diversified as possible. Okay. All right. So if you have no other questions, and that's the end for this tutorial, and looking forward to see you next week. All right. But feel free. So I will be online for a while. I will, you know, I'm reachable on email. You know. So if you have any questions, just feel free to contact me. All right. Okay, Emily, say goodbye to everyone and enjoy the rest of your day. So I'm gonna go feed Emily's her lunch now. Okay. Yes, so I will put you guys in group. Yeah. Thank you. Bye, Donald. Have a good day. Bye, Samuel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Ken.
Bye. She's very affectionate. Yeah.